Yo, what's going on YouTube and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte and today we are taking a look at continuing our series of They Must Do This One Thing. And today we're taking a look at the Detroit Red Wings. And the Detroit Red Wings must do this one thing in 2023, and that is to re-sign Dylan Larkin to a contract extension. Dylan Larkin has been the captain of the Detroit Red Wings now for a few seasons. And Dylan Larkin is the face of the franchise. And of course, they have a ton of good young players like Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider. But this is a team that's still, the main core is surrounded by Dylan Larkin. And Dylan Larkin has been here for a long time. He's been with the Red Wings, won the Rookie of the Year or the Calder Trophy back in 2015 or 16. It's been a couple years, but he has been in the NHL, and he is due to get a big pay raise. That's the big thing for Larkin. He grew up playing with the University of Michigan with the Wolverines, had some success there. So there's a guy that's just a Red Wing through and through. And it's not really surprising in any sense that this is where he would end up long term. And I think Red Wings fans are kind of on either side of the fence. They either love Larkin or they hate him and they want to see him get traded. But I think that that conversation is still there. And, obviously people like Jeff Merrick and Friedman have said there's still the possibility he could leave. I see it as more of him trying to create some leverage, right? And I think Larkin's next contract is going to be very important because you look at, it's not even necessarily just next season. You look at Larkin's contract. This is the quote unquote benchmark for the rest of the Red Wings contracts over the next few seasons. So for example, this year is Dylan Larkin. He's the guy that's going to get the big ticket. And as of right now, before his extension, he is still the highest paid player on the Red Wings. Then you factor in the fact that he's going to be getting a pay raise. He's going to make some more money, so he's going to definitely be the highest paid player after this season. But you look at some of the contracts. So Dylan Larkin's deal is this summer, and that's really it. And Joe Veleno might get a small contract as well. Next year's a big year for the Red Wings because you have Michael Rasmussen, Jonathan Berggren, Lucas Raymond, and Mo Seider, all on their expiring deals, not to mention Filip Hronek. So the Red Wings next year in 2024, things might be a little quiet in 2023 for the Red Wings. They had a big free agency this past year. They spent some money. This year might be quiet. Obviously Larkin is the big firework guy they have to re-sign. Next year is a huge year for the Red Wings for their contracts. So whatever contract Larkin gets, you hope that's the benchmark for what these Red Wing players make, and then they can't sign anything more than that. And we've seen Steve Yzerman kind of do that in Tampa Bay. How well is it going to work in Detroit? We don't really know. It's kind of a wait and see approach, but you have to think that's on the table. And I think that's something that if you're looking at this team, there is the possibility here that they go after a guy like Bo Horvat at the trade deadline. Again, crazier things have happened, so take with it what you will. Either at the trade deadline or in free agency, the Red Wings, listen, he grew up, I think, 90 minutes from Detroit in Ontario, in London. So there is that suspicion that he could go to the Red Wings, and the Red Wings could really bolster up that center core with Bo Horvat and Dylan Larkin and Andrew Kopp. That top three is dynamic. So that's something that if I'm looking at this thing from a Red Wings perspective, okay, the idea of Bo Horvat sounds great, but that might come at the cost of, say, a Joe Veleno or P. Suter or a Filip Hronek even on the blue line. That money is going to be, if that money is going to be spent elsewhere, you won't keep some of the guys on your team right now. I think that's some of the questions that the Red Wings and Yzerman are going to have to figure out here. Do they really like Bo Horvat? Is he worth potentially $9 million per season? I don't know if Steve Yzerman would be too keen on that. Steve Yzerman isn't known as a GM that goes out and gets the big name free agents. He goes for the guys that are the best fit for his team. And I don't know if Horvat, yes, he's got good numbers. Yes, he fills out that center void. But there is some questions about, see, that whole Larkin benchmark contract kind of flies out the window if you're giving Bo Horvat, who just stepped in, $9.5 million, $10 million per season. Well, now Larkin's going to want to make sure that he gets that. Okay, well, if he's getting that, I'm getting 10.5 or 11. And that's when you kind of run down the rabbit hole that you kind of have the concerns. And you guys know, the stats, teams that have players that make $10 million or more per season on their contract, they don't tend to do well in the postseason. The only team that's done that is the Montreal Canadiens, and they lost in the cup final in 5 games to Tampa Bay in 2020. That's the last time we've seen that, or 2021, excuse me. So that's the last time we've seen that, where a team with $10+ million on their salary for one player has gotten to a really good playoff run or even came close to sniffing the cup. So the Red Wings, I think Yzerman knows that deep down. He knows that in the back of his head. And I think that's something that if you're the Red Wings here, you got to make sure you're careful with these young guys and their contracts. So this Larkin and Horvat situation, whatever ends up transpiring in Detroit, might tell a lot about what happens next year for some of their younger guys. So as much as the Larkin contract itself is a big deal, it's all the trickle-down effects that are really going to pay dividends, either good or bad, for the Red Wings here in the next, potentially, decade. So guys, let me know what you think down below. What do you guys think of the Detroit Red Wings re-signing Dylan Larkin? Would you like to see Dylan Larkin return? Do you think he'll sign somewhere else? Let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.